This podcast is for you if you want to learn about the wonderful and wacky world of the English language and the people who speak it. If you want to learn English, speak English, and understand different speakers of English, then you're in the right place and you're going to love our podcast episode today. Welcome to English World with Kris and Amerikos. We are a team of language lovers, expert teachers, and native speakers who are on a mission to help people around the world speak English and show the world their true value. We correct mistakes, practice pronunciation, and explore grammar rules while drinking coffee and having fun. So get comfortable, relax, grab a pen and paper, and welcome to the show. Today's episode is brought to you by English Every Day, an unlimited speaking practice program where you can join live speaking practice lessons with professional native teachers 5 times every day. There are a lot of courses on the internet and a lot of useful videos too, but the one thing that is missing for most English learners is practice. And if you need speaking practice, then English Every Day is for you. So click the link in the description or go to krisamerikos.com to learn more today. All right, today we have Veronika Mark with us. Veronica has built an amazing channel. She actually has more than one channel. How many channels do you have now?
Two channels.
Okay, so I've seen both of the channels and they are just exploding. I mean, you've got so many new subscribers in the recent past. Since we first talked last year, you know, I've seen that you've more than doubled your subscribers. You've passed what we have on our English channel, and I'm jealous. So I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
So I have a list of questions, but if we go off topic, that's fine too. And feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you might have too.
Sure.
My first question for you is about questions. What are some of the interesting questions that you get from your subscribers?
That's a really interesting question. A lot of people, usually I think the question that people ask me the most is about my native language. Okay. What's my native language? Because obviously when people realize that I'm not a native English speaker, the next obvious question is, oh, what's your native language? So that's the first question. And to answer this question, my native language is Russian. Then they ask me where I live, because I move around quite a lot because I like traveling, but I live in Mexico, right? I have my apartment here. I live here in Mexico City. So sometimes when I travel, people are like, oh, do you live in Brazil now? Or do you live here now? I'm like, no, just traveling.
So you had a recent trip to Brazil?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How was that?
It was very nice. Yeah, it was nice also being in a country where I couldn't really understand the language much. Portuguese. Yeah, there were moments when, I could understand what they were telling me because it is kind of similar to Spanish. But I still remember this one moment when at the hotel, a lady approached me and she was trying to explain something to me. And I thought she was speaking German. I was like, oh my God, but she was speaking Portuguese. I don't know why my mind was just blank. I was like, lady, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're telling me.
That's
funny.
That's so true. That happens a lot. When I've gone to other countries, the same thing happens to me, that you're the language that you're studying or a language that something sounds a little similar. And so you automatically start to associate that and think, oh, there's a meaning there, but there might not be.
Exactly. Right? Yep.
It's like an exercise for your brain. So what are some other interesting questions that your subscribers have asked you? Because I know that you, on one of your channels, you bring up topics like relationships and, personal topics that are about your life. So what are the other interesting questions they ask?
So basically, because my second channel, my smaller channel, is about kind of personal development. I started out as a lifestyle YouTuber there because I was really I just wanted to film vlogs. But right now, I just know that first, I can't really grow with vlogs. It's the first thing. And the second thing is, it's just, I feel a lot of anxiety and pressure when I have to film my whole day. like when I wake up and the first thing I think about is, oh, I'm supposed to start filming already, like good morning, and I'm gonna have breakfast. And honestly, I just feel anxious. And yeah, so that's why I decided to pivot a little bit. Maybe I will still try to include some like vlog style content, but not as much anymore. So there, people usually ask me for book recommendations. They ask me for maybe advice, like about a situation, like, I mean, not much. Obviously, like I'm not a professional, so I always say, oh, like this is just something that I did in the past. Like, oh, like this is my experience. I can like give you advice and tell you, oh, this is what you should do.
Uh-huh. So sometimes they'll ask you questions about their own situations.
Exactly. Yep. Like about English, like, oh, what should I do? Like, I'm trying to learn this. Or there was a moment when a person reached out to me thanking me for a little sponsorship collaboration I did with a brand, because it was about an app. And I don't remember the name of the app already, but
I saw those
basically,
ads. I saw the ads with your face. Yeah.
yeah, so the girl told me that she started using the app and she met a guy on the app and now they're dating. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. She's like, yeah, no, like I can like, speak English, and like obviously I really like this guy. We're speaking English together and like practicing the language together. And like I finally found a person who is passionate about the same thing as I am, English. And I was like, that's crazy, but I'm happy for you guys.
So it worked.
Mhm.
And yeah, you've had a lot of different sponsors. How many sponsors have you worked with?
Now, a lot of companies. Yeah, I think more than 20 for
Wow.
sure.
That's so cool. So what has your experience been of working with sponsors?
I would say good. Overall, very good. Like I like working with sponsors, with different companies, because obviously it's a part of my job as well, and it's a part of my income. But at the same time, especially right now, I feel like I can be more picky when it comes to the people I work with. And when a company reaches out to me that I use and I love, for example, Notion, like a few weeks ago, Notion reached out to me. I was like, yes, definitely yes. I'm such a Notion nerd. Like I even have Notion open right now. Like I use this app every single day for everything. So yeah, when something like that happens, I'm like, I just feel so grateful that like Notion and like other companies connected to English maybe, or yeah, they want to work with me. Definitely.
That's awesome. And so you said overall it's been good.
Mhm.
What pitfalls should someone who wants to gain sponsorship, what should they avoid? Like, what have you learned in your experience with all of these sponsors? Besides
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so first of all, it's very important to sign like contracts with companies, because I think in the past I didn't do that, and I would be just like on email. I would be like, sure, let's work together, and then we would work together, and it would all work out. But basically, there was one moment when it was a very long time ago when I just started on YouTube, like one of the first companies that wanted to work with me. We were like emailing back and forth, and then we didn't like sign any agreements or anything. And they asked me to change my video 4 times. And it's just not something that usually happens. Like usually when you sign a contract, you kind of write there like, oh, I only accept one change.
Yeah.
Like one time. Yeah, like I make it, you don't like something, it's okay, it happens. I can change it, but like that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not
List
going to change it.
everything in one, like make one list of
Mhm.
all the things to change.
Exactly. So yeah, that was like one sin. Because of that, like it was like pushed back, right? Like I was going back and forth. They were like, oh no, change this. And then I would upload and then like, oh no, change that. And obviously it takes time. You have to like get ready, set everything up, start filming, and then you're just over it. Like, by a certain moment, you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, that client, that sponsor paid you.
Yeah. Luckily, so far, I haven't had any experiences where people didn't pay me at all. I have heard that some people, and I think that, it's a possibility that one day I might, kind of have to deal with that. But at the same time, like right now, I always like, sign agreements. I send out invoices with my payment processor. So I try to make sure everything is like documented, like all the steps. Yeah.
Well, I guess Notion isn't exactly an English school or an English
No,
program.
no, no.
So it's a little bit different of a sponsor. But do you think that since you have your own speaking club now, that the English apps and schools that they're not going to reach out to you?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it has influenced it in any way. Yeah, because obviously I try to be like upfront, and if this is like the period where I have to talk about my speaking club, I obviously try to like post sponsorship content like during the days when I don't have to like advertise anything else, or at least give it like a couple of days before that and after that, like before, like, yeah, until I start advertising other things. But no, it has not influenced it in any way.
Oh, that's great. Because some people have said that if they have their own project, their own business, their own program or course, that the sponsors typically view them as competitors, and there's no reason to put the competitor's face on their brand, of course. So
Interesting. Well, there was one company that I had to say no to because basically their product was a speaking club. But they reached out to me, but I said no because I have a speaking club. So I can't be like, oh, guys, join this speaking club. And then 1 week later, hey, join my speaking club.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's just like usually the companies I work with, our products are so different, right? It's either an app or it's a language school. I mean, usually, yeah, that's it, an app or a language school. I don't have a language school. I don't have an app. So, yeah.
So I saw one of your videos where you were talking about how to become more attractive.
Mm.
You were giving advice on this, and I thought it was a really cool video. And I just kind of wanted to bring up this topic because I think people listening might be intrigued by how that's possible. So when you
Yeah.
talk about becoming more attractive, like what do you really mean?
So like a little story before that, the reason why I decided to make this video is that I got so tired of like this like social media just side of my life, how everyone is just like judging me based on, not everyone, sometimes people judge me based on my appearance. And like I was, for example, doing a live stream one day and I had like a band-aid on my chest because I had like a medical procedure done, and a lot of people were like, what is in your chest? Like, what is that? Like, why does it look so weird? And I'm like, the point of this live stream is not to talk about this. But yeah, so when I talk about how to become more attractive, I always talk about like personal qualities, because it is something that helped me a lot, like shape me who I am right now and who I will become in the future, because obviously it's a work in progress. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing for me is always like if a person wants to kind of work on themselves, like always trying to maybe read some information or learn something new. Yeah, so that's definitely like for me, when I talk to those people, I find it extremely interesting to talk to them. And yeah.
Okay, so a person has to be growing or interested in growth.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
but does growth equal attractiveness?
No, I mean, yeah, some people they're growing, but they're like impolite, for example, right? It's a mix of qualities. Yeah, if you're like always growing, but then you're always like on this high horse, you're like, oh, I'm cooler and better than you. No, of course not. But see, again, it's about this person's like qualities, like character traits, or things they can work on.
So are there attractive ways of speaking, like speaking English or speaking language, and unattractive?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, when a person is confident, obviously, it's like you just feel a lot more comfortable speaking to a person who is confident, who is like calm. Because a few days ago, I went to a networking event and there were like a lot of different people. And there were some people who were extremely confident, like especially when it came to public speaking. And they were just like, they were like radiating this like peace. And when they were talking, they were like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is my life. And I'm confident, like I like my life. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I think this quality makes them very attractive.
That's great. Yeah. I recently went to a marketing conference and I had to do the same thing. Like I had to introduce myself to basically 120 different people. And by the 60th or 70th time, you finally got the thing in your mind. You're like, okay, this is exactly what I do now.
Exactly.
So that's, and that's an interesting way of thinking about like the link between confidence and attractiveness, that maybe going to some kind of networking event, it doesn't have to be business. It could be any kind of networking event, but maybe that is a way for you to become more confident, introducing yourself and starting conversations, right?
Exactly. Because I, like in the video, I talked about how like it's a work in progress. I will always be working on like becoming more confident, because for example, at that networking event, when it was my time to speak up and introduce myself, I had to kind of like calm myself down. I had to like use this like confident voice that I have. And like you always have to remind yourself that like you're safe, everything is okay, just like relax, breathe. That's
great. So like a lot of people, when they think about attractiveness, they're thinking more about relationships, right? And more about like being attracted to someone physically. But I think it's so key, because looks are not everything, and looks change. And so the other things other than looks, like you have to be around that person a lot. So you have to deal with that too, right? So let's say there's a confident guy, he's growing, he has those qualities, but what's a red flag in a guy?
Yeah, so there are a lot of actually red flags, but just also like I want to talk a little bit about like looks. I think that a lot of people, when they first meet someone, for example, now we're talking about a romantic relationship, a romantic partner, obviously we do notice looks. And for some people, looks are more important than others, right? For example, like I know some people who are like, I'm only going to date a guy who is 5 feet or taller. Like that's it, like I know that I'm not, attracted to anyone who's shorter, and it works for them. And if it's like, they know, and like, okay, fine, whatever. I think different people, we have our own preferences when it comes to looks. Again, some people have more, some people have less, and it's fine. But yes, as you said, at the end of the day, this is the first thing you notice. But once you start talking to this person, then the personality aspect kicks in, and you can't live with a person who you're just attracted to physically and like you hate their inner qualities. It's not going to work like that. There are a lot, like, for example, if a guy, I mean, because, I can talk about myself. If he's rude, he's disrespectful of your time, he's just disrespectful of you. Yeah, there are a lot of things, but usually you see those red flags at the very beginning. Yeah, like if a person is rude, if they're disrespectful, they're always late. Yeah, so
those are things to look out for in the beginning of the relationship. And what about the opposite way? Guys who are interested in girls, what are red flags, girls, that you think that guys should look out for?
Oh, well, I think it can be also the same thing. The same thing that I just mentioned for guys can be applied to girls. But I also feel like red flags, yes, but there's also one like very important thing that people always have to keep in mind when they want to start dating someone is like, what is your goal? Like, what are you looking for? Right?
Yeah.
Because some people, yesterday I was watching a YouTube video and the girl there was saying how she wants to date with intent. Like she's not, she's not looking for a casual relationship. She really wants to date with intent. She wants to get married. She wants to have children. So she is honest about it at the very beginning. And some people feel like, oh my God, you're intense if you start talking about at the very beginning that you want to get married and have kids. I don't think so. I think this is exactly what you should do, because if the person says, oh, I never want to have children or I never want to get married, then you're saving yourself time.
Just, yeah, you're setting the expectations from the beginning.
Exactly. Yep.
And things work out better when everyone understands what the expectations are.
Exactly. Yep.
So how difficult is it to date people from different countries?
That's a very interesting question, because there are definitely some cultural differences. I think if you are ready for that, if you really like or love this person, obviously, like you will overcome all the difficulties, but you will have to know that there are certain things that you will have to talk about. For example, like a person from your culture might already know, right? By default, they're like, okay, I know this is like this is like that. For example, in my culture, like the way women are treated, especially when it comes to like going out on dates, like who pays for everything, like presents and things. In a lot of cultures, it's different. Like maybe some guys or girls, they're used to like, oh, doing half and half or doing that. And maybe it's cultural, but obviously it might be more personal as well. So again, just talking about all of those things is very important. And if something makes you uncomfortable and you're like, okay, probably we should talk about it. Yeah.
So how much compromise is required to make that kind of relationship work? Because you said something interesting just now. You said, the other person might not know about those things, but on the other hand, you are expecting that person to know those things.
Exactly.
And so like, in most of the intercultural relationships that I see that work, they like both sides kind of accept some things from the other side, but also keep some things from their side. And so there has to be compromise between both people.
Definitely.
One person ends up really frustrated.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, compromise is definitely like something that people will have to also deal with. But at the same time, I feel like when people use this word, it's very important to understand that like everyone, like every party should be comfortable with this compromise. Because usually what happens is one person is like, okay, this is what I want. And the other person is like, okay, so it's kind of compromised, but they're not really happy with that. And then it builds up, the tension builds up. And then
when you were talking earlier, you said that you can identify some of these negative things, red flags at the beginning of the relationship. And do you think that at the beginning of the relationship, like you said, if the person says, well, okay, then they've identified the flag, but they're not change,
Mm,
not making a decision, right?
yeah, they're not willing to go deeper and really think about it because, like, oftentimes maybe it's also something that they have to think about on their own, or maybe they have to talk to a specialist by themselves, right? Because maybe it's connected to the way they were brought up, it has nothing to do with their relationship. Yeah, so
That's
this is
very true.
again.
So many of those things that you just mentioned, yeah, that's so true that, the way you're brought up, and it's not just the culture of your country, even though some people might think that. So because the
Mhm.
culture of the country is expressed in so many different ways through different people.
Yeah.
So um that's so cool that you made that connection.
Mhm.
Have you ever had a long distance relationship?
Yeah, so well, I'm in a relationship right now, and with my boyfriend, sometimes we have to be long distance because he has to go back to his home country for a while.
Mhm.
But this is also a very interesting conversation because what I think about long distance relationships might be different from what a lot of people think of them, because I think it's something temporary. It's more a problem. It's not something that you should be like, okay, we're a lot, like, again, what this is what I think, right? For me, I don't think that, we're long distance. That's it. That's like, we just live this way right now. For me, it's just like, okay, we are a long distance because of this situation, and how can we change that? Like, what can we do to make sure we maximize our time together, to make sure we spend as much time as we can together? And like, if we do have to spend some time long distance, it's not like a year,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, very, not a lot of time
That's
apart.
so cool that you said it like that, that it's a problem to be solved in the relationship, basically.
Mm-hmm. Because I honestly kind of like had to struggle with that concept for a while, because I felt like I couldn't find support when I like looked online, because I would go to like TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, and there would be all of those inspirational videos of people saying, we were long distance for 5 years and then we got married. I'm like, 5 years?
A long time.
It's a very long time to be long distance. And I'm just like, why? I don't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone I know, a couple that I know, they have two kids, and the husband met a young lady online, and they say that they're soulmates, and he's leaving his wife and kids, and they've never met in real life, but they're both part of some kind of religious group now. And
Um,
so so sometimes people invest a lot of energy into long distance, and not even having met the person in real life before. There are a lot of stories
oh,
meeting online and then fiance visa, and start the whole process. And
yeah.
so I guess there's a lot of different reasons to have a long distance relationship. Uh,
Mm.
but I really like how you framed it. It's a problem to be solved, and I think that a lot of people haven't heard that before. So
Yeah. Well, because this is who I am. Like, again, I am the person who dates with intent. Like, I'm dating because I want to get married. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I'm not dating just because. It's like, I don't know, at least for now, at this kind of age and stage in my life, I do want to get married. I don't want to just date. So,
you hear that,
yeah.
internet? You hear that, internet? Somebody's going to watch this video. There's a guy who's not in Mexico right now who is going to be listening.
He knows, believe me, he knows. Oh, it's
So,
actually like a lot of personal things I have never shared before. So,
well, you're such a genuine person. You just shine through the microphone in the video. So, thank you for sharing with us. And I know that you're if you're in a relationship, it's serious for you. So you're in a serious relationship, and but
thinking back maybe before this relationship, do you think that you could date someone if you don't speak the same language that they speak? Like
Mm-hmm.
if neither of you spoke the same language, you're both like trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to talk to the other person. Would that be
Yeah,
possible?
no. For
No?
me, I don't think so. Yeah, because yeah, it's very difficult for me. I really, for me, it's very important. I mean, when I talk about the same language, it doesn't have to be your native language, right?
Right, right.
But for me, it has to be the language you feel very comfortable with. Like when you speak, for example, when I speak English, I feel very comfortable. I can like describe my feelings, my emotions when I'm arguing with someone or when I'm crying. You know, I can still speak English. Like I don't need to switch to my native language. However, with Spanish, it's not possible for me yet. So I think if yeah, like it would be very hard for me if I like this, the only language that kind of united me and the other person was Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be very difficult for me.
I think the same. I've been in some situations, I wouldn't call it dating, but
Mm-hmm.
the person didn't speak the same language, and yeah, it's super difficult. But I've also seen
Yeah.
start and have long-term relationships not
Yeah.
language or not very much, and not really understanding each other at first and then figuring it out. It was hard for them,
Mm-hmm.
but they did it.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah, but I just know that for me, because I like to go very deep and intense at the very beginning. So it would be hard for me to go deep and intense with a person who, yeah, like I couldn't connect with language wise.
True. So you said how you feel so comfortable expressing all of these different emotions in English, and you have YouTube channels in English, and you put out content in English, and you're very successful as an English language content creator and English speaker. Like we're having a complex conversation dialogue right now, and you not only keep up, but you add in unique ideas. So how would you describe the community of English learners and teachers on YouTube right now?
That's a very interesting question. I think it depends. I think like talking about YouTube or other platforms, it was like this in the past too. And right now it's the same thing. Like honestly, I feel like nothing is really changing.
Okay.
What I mean is, right now we see some people who are very connected, right? For example, us, right? We're having these like calls, we chat sometimes and we support each other. However, there are people who just spread hate and negativity. And it was like this in the past too. There are also like teachers online who always say that like, these are my qualifications, like look at this, I passed this exam, that exam, and like that's why you should only listen to me. Like, and they try to make other people feel bad because they don't have those qualifications. Yeah, like I once came across this like person on Instagram who was like saying, yeah, you should always ask your teacher like what are their, you know, exams that they took to prove that they're a good teacher. I'm like, this is not how it works. I mean, like, for example, the teachers that like taught me or are teaching me Spanish right now, they don't have any qualifications. They're just great people and they love the language and they love speaking. But again, I would say it's very personal. For me, it's not important. For some people, it's very important to only be learning from a person who is like a certified professional.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But so it's good to have those things, but you shouldn't shame other people for not having them.
That's the point. Exactly. Yeah, the point is if you have them, great. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yeah, when people start shaming other people for not having them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense anyways, because like you said, some people value that and some people don't. And I think
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking in the world, the value of those things is going down because
Mm-hmm.
people understand that they have access to things that they need and that they can easily check things. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but do you think competition is healthy in this space on YouTube?
Well, I would think overall, I would say overall, yes. I don't think most people have any like negative feelings or emotions towards other creators. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I'm always open to like collab, like come up with something cool together. However, again, there are people who are very like negative about a lot of things, who maybe like don't like certain creators and like criticize them a lot. And yeah, I mean, I got my share of hate as well for supporting someone.
So overall, you think competition on YouTube is healthy, but there are some instances of negative behavior or negative expression. So where's the line? Like, where can we draw the line then between, because probably most of the people who are openly criticizing other people are doing it mostly to gain views, attention, awareness about something that they're doing, which, you know, we can say it's business, it's marketing, it's whatever. But like, where is the line between that, between business, between entertainment and education? All of these things kind of come together on YouTube. So where can we draw the line?
Well, for me, for example, the line, like a lot of people are crossing the line already, because for me, the line is if you don't like someone, if they think they're bad or making a lot of mistakes, you can do whatever you want. You can criticize them, but in your house, you know, like in your apartment, like at home, talking to your friends and family. It's like, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. Like if you don't like someone, I mean, okay, you don't have to like everyone. But yeah, especially like when people just take all of this online and they start like discussing that, because the worst thing happens usually in the comments. Like when you open the comment section under those videos, you're just like, oh my God, like so bad. And like hate spreads very fast. And yeah, like this, like I never understood and I never will, because like what's the point of all of that? Like I'm doing my job and I will continue doing my job because this is something that I like. And yeah,
I really admire your perseverance, that you've been able to stick with it throughout all the different things, and then you know, share so much from your personal life and your experience. And I think that that's really why people love following you, because they like following your story.
Yeah, thank you.
So what is it though? Because not all people are that mentally strong to be able to keep with it under pressure, under criticism, negative comments. And, you know, some people can say some really bad things. So how, you know, to other creators out there who, I just had a conversation today with a guy. He said, I've just started my YouTube channel, but I'm triple checking everything to make sure I don't make mistakes because I'm afraid of Kevin and Lisa correcting my video and putting my face everywhere. And so I was like, you know, that happened. Some people feel like that. And you've been able to go through it. So what's your secret to keeping the motivation to keep going?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, again, because I'm like, I'm really trying to be honest, I have to say that from the outside, or like on my YouTube channel, I maybe seem to like have it all together, but it doesn't mean that I don't cry and don't feel anxious about a lot of things, because when like a lot of hate happens in my life, and I think there were like so far there have been like two major waves of hate. They're different. Yeah, the first one is connected to this YouTube channel, but the second one is actually connected to this one TikTok that a Mexican news TikTok, or some kind of something connected to like, oh, life in Mexico City, or like, yeah, they post like a lot of videos about life in Mexico City. So they made a video about me, and it was like very bad. And my friend sent
Really?
it to me. Yeah, and people were like,
Since I haven't seen it, just give us like the quick summary. Like what was their point, you know?
Yeah, the point was that so they took my video of where I was sharing my day, like what I do, my day in Mexico City, right? Just one day. And I was like waking up and having breakfast and like doing yoga or running, and then I was like working, and then I was reading my book, and then I was watching a movie, and then going to bed. And they basically made a video about a regular average Mexican, and compared my day to their day. And obviously they made it sound a lot worse for a Mexican. They were like, oh, they have to like commute 2 hours every day, and the train is like crowded, and there are so many people. And there were a lot of people in the comments like saying that I should go to my home country, that I'm causing a lot of problems in their country, that I like leave Mexico, we don't want you here, go back. And people were even going back to my TikTok page and leaving like hateful comments under my videos. That was very hard for me, because obviously there are a lot of reasons that made me move from my home country, but I love living in Mexico, and obviously most people here are extremely welcoming. I mean, I'm so grateful for like everything this country has done for me, but just like still, those moments, because I talked to my friend about the situation, and he explained that like they're not angry at you. They're just, found you like a scapegoat. They're angry at a situation that is present in Mexico. And I understand, and that really helped me. So like talking to people and just being calm and talking to a therapist helps me a lot. Yeah. So I do all of those things as well to help my mental health, I guess.
Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today, Veronica. It's always so nice to talk to you. And I think that a lot of people who listen to this chat that we had will be inspired by what you've just said, because people go through those things and a lot of people don't admit them. A lot of people don't want to show their weaknesses. And I think that showing your weaknesses to everyone turns them into a strength, because it's known, like you've already put it out there. And if someone's going to criticize you for it, it's just like, yeah, I know that already. That's my experience. That's my mistake. Like, why are you trying to reinterpret it back to me and tell me what it means? I know what it means, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And to take control of those situations where everything feels out of control. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Veronica. Tell everybody where they can find you. I mean, if they just write your name, I think they'll find you, but just in case, the best places to find you.
So guys, you can find me basically on every social media platform right now. If you go to YouTube, you can type in Veronika Mark, and you'll be able to see both of my channels. The first one is called English with Veronika Mark, and the second one is just Veronika Mark. The same thing on Instagram, just type in my name. It's Veronika Mark _English. And on TikTok, it's the same thing.
Awesome. And we'll put all the links in the description. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Veronica.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to English World with Kris Amerikos. Now it's your turn. Don't just listen to English, speak English with us every day. Join our English Everyday speaking program today. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.